Welcome to podcast 37 in the series of Who Let the Master Out. In this episode, I want to share a daily practice that I do as part of my morning ritual, and I call it skulling. I know it sounds kind of creepy, but this is something that I've been doing for a while now. So stick with me as I describe what I do. So I have a few pictures of human skulls that I've found on the internet. Some are real skulls, and some are kind of artistic creations. And as part of my morning meditation, I focus on the skulls, picturing my own skull after I die. Okay, saying this out loud, it's coming across creepier than I meant it to, but stick with me. So when I'm looking at the pictures of these skulls, I start tapping on my own skull, usually around up in the forehead and on the temples and, just that hard area up there. Doing that allows me to separate the physical world from the spiritual world, because I feel myself touching my face and my head, but I also feel something that expands outside of my physical body. So I see my physical body as a brilliant rental vehicle that I'm using to travel around on my journey here. And when I finish this ride, I may surrender my body back to the energy of this physical plane, but I do not end. My true self remains. Something else that I do in conjunction with looking at the pictures of the skulls is that I also look at a photograph that was taken when I was on the big island of Hawaii. The picture, if you're interested, is shown on my website at buddhazen.com. Just click on books and then scroll down to the Who Let the Master Out book. And it's also on the back cover of the print edition of that book if you have that. So if you look on the back, the little picture is the one I'm talking about. There's something about the energy of the Hawaiian Islands anyway. You feel this peace and calmness and kind of mother energy there. Well, when you're not in the crowds of Honolulu, maybe. But the big island is where the active volcanoes are, which happen to be having some eruptions and actually like earthquakes and lava and everything these last weeks. But on that island, they have a beautiful botanical garden that sits on the edge of the island. So they have many different kinds of plants, and they have water and waves actually come right up to it. It's just gorgeous, just beautiful. When you first enter the botanical garden, you walk down this winding wooden path as you descend into it. And we were walking down the path and came to a small bridge that passed by one of those large banyan trees that was up on a small cliff. And these are the trees that have their roots are all exposed, and this one in particular had its roots waterfalling down the side of the cliff and under the bridge we were walking by. And as we moved past those roots, I felt like I had entered a stream of electricity. You could just feel the love energy flowing out of its roots. I just stood there for several minutes with tears in my eyes, overwhelmed with that feeling of unconditional love that was just emanating, from these roots. And I'm glad that my father actually took a snapshot of that while I was standing there with my eyes closed, because it reminds me each time I look at it what I felt, and it also reminds me of what we're really made of: unconditional love energy. It helps me have a renewed perspective on life, reminding me that this physical body is only a temporary experience for us. that when this part of our journey ends, we don't. We continue on to the next thing, and then on to the next thing, and then on to the next. This lifts my restrictions that my fear ego places upon love energy here. When my brain tries to reinforce and enforce those conditional love laws that it's created over my life, I can step above those and out of those rules when I realize those are only for the characters that we are playing in this movie. There are two of us inside this body. The rebel character driving this awesome vehicle, and the powerful, eternal spirit being that is witnessing our experience here. When we are ready, we remember that. When we are ready, messages come our way. Like maybe a podcast, maybe. Maybe sculling isn't your thing, and that's totally cool. We don't need everyone duplicating everything everyone else is doing. That's boring. Find that thing that helps you remember that there are two of you and that this body is just a temporary experience. See if you'd like to make it a morning practice to have that as a reminder. Because when you start your morning off remembering that you are a powerful spirit being, it just might change your whole day. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about how we can learn to surge our love energy. But until then, break that cycle. Be free. Be big. Because we're giants in a world of giants who've been taught that we're weak and small. But it's time to rise. It's time to let your master out.